I'm going to go ahead and share a slide here. And so I'm Keau George, the Collections and Resource Manager at Hula Preservation Society. I'm joined by my co-presenter, who Jessica introduced, Lāhela Maio. And we're just going to kind of jump in here with some little bit of background on who we are and how we came about. So the Hula Preservation Society was established in 2000 by Auntie Nona Kapua Ilohia Manono Kalani Deshe Beamer. She was born in 1923, and she was nurtured from a very young age in culture and trained in hula by her grandmother, sweetheart grandma, Helen Deshe Beamer, who was a renowned classical composer of Hawaiian music and a kumu hula. She's right there in the center in the black and white photo. So Auntie Nona herself became a composer. She also became a kumu hula of the Beamer dance tradition. She was an author, mostly of children's stories, an educator. She taught at the Kamehameha schools for over 30 years. And she was a pioneer for many Hawaiian programs established in Hawaii's educational system. She was also a community advocate, participating in efforts such as the first Native Hawaiian Study Commission under the Department of the Interior. So Auntie had a real natural curiosity and a passion for learning and sharing. And in her twilight years, she started on a little project to talk with her friends and her colleagues and fellow kumu hula about their experiences and teachings in hula. So with the help of her Hanai daughter, Mailelu, now our executive director, they established Hula Preservation, HPS. So we wanted to share a small clip of Auntie Nona with you so you could kind of get a sense of her nature and her being. And she's always a guiding light in all that we aim to do. And she's the foundation upon which HPS's values and mission were established. In this clip, she's talking about her philosophy for life and the values she holds dear. So here's Auntie Nona. Oh, Lāhela, you'll need to unmute. Yeah.
Hello, Maio. There we go.
It's this essence of love. And isn't that what we want for the whole world, my friends? We want to learn more about how to be loving, how to be kind, and hula teaches us this kind of humility. It doesn't teach arrogance. So we as hula people should keep these values uppermost in our minds. That's what makes the love so real. It's your love that makes it real. I would be so sad if no one wanted to study hula. But how thrilling that everybody in the world wants it. What is so different about it? What does hula have that nothing else has in any other culture? It's the essence of this aloha. It's the love. And it's your essence that makes it live.
Yeah, so we thank Auntie Nona for always reminding us where we have been, where we need to be, and where we're going. Okay.
Keau, you're muted.
Thank you, Auntie Nona, for sharing with us about where we have been, where we are, and where we need to go. And now I'm going to share a little bit more about our organization. For 2 decades, HPS has worked hand in hand with esteemed elders and community members to build a one-of-a-kind repository of collective voices and stories that communicate over a century of firsthand lived experiences. So from the 20th century through the Depression, the territorial years, World War II, statehood, and the Hawaiian Renaissance, these people experienced and lived Hawaii through the shared love of hula. Hula serves as a pivotal anchor for Kanaka Oiwi practices, traditions, values, history, poetry, art, literature, philosophy, spirituality, music, composition, language, identity, and so much more. And the elders and the people that we've had the privilege of working with faced many challenges in preserving, perpetuating, and practicing culture. Their way of life was heavily influenced by westernization and religion. Hula and language were particularly impacted with our language banned from the educational system at one point and disapproved of being used socially and even within families, basically pushed to the brink of extinction. But our elders adapted to live in a Western world, one which unfortunately resulted in most of them not learning or being able to speak their mother tongue, but they held fast to knowledge that was passed on to them. And that was core to the revitalization of Hawaiian culture, especially hula and language. Hula is the vessel that has safeguarded our language, and these elders are seen as the protectors, the stewards, the interpreters, the librarians, the archivists of knowledge. Those most recognized for the existence of our Kanaka Oiwi lifeways today. Our core work is in video oral histories, using video oral histories, and we document the insights and knowledge of these people to share a story of Hawaii through the lens of hula. We have been honored to sit and talk with over 100 kupuna and community members. And throughout the years, our relationships with them blossomed, and our organization was gifted tangible items. So in addition to a very large library of digital video, we have a lot of stuff. So to care for this ever-growing amount of materials and knowledge, we established the HPS Archive in 2015. Our very first introduction to archival work, because none of us had archival backgrounds or library backgrounds at the time, was under the guidance of Candice Lee. She was then the assistant archivist of the Kamehameha schools. The physical materials in the archive provide complementary context and meaning to the video oral histories and to the history of hula. We have a large variety of formats in the archive, with all of which we are still working to organize and rehouse. Our collections include moving images of different formats, audio, still images, paper-based materials, books and historical magazines, objects like hula implements, textiles such as costumes and gowns, and a huge variety of digital files. Our collections, as you can see, are really diverse, and the archive is accessible Monday through Friday by appointment. So I'm going to pass it over to Lāhela.
Keau. These are some of the ways that our archival and oral history materials can all be accessed. The first being our digital Umeke virtual collections website, which consists of oral history transcripts, finding aids, photographs, and edited videos of educational presentations, kupuna panel discussions, and lots of performances. We just recently launched 4 new thematic collections on digital Umeke, so check it out. They are each about Hula Ki'i, Iolani Luahine, Namakua Mahalo Ia, which was a performance concert series taking back in the late 90s. And last one being Umeke Memoirs, where we kind of featured different kupuna from a previous project that we did. We also have our main website, hulapreservation.org, which has pictures and information about all the elders that we've worked with, links to various learning resources and history and more information about the beginnings of HPS. Our learning resources page on our website also includes a dynamic Vai list, which is a list of various resources of general information about hula, Hawaii's history, culture, language, and other various broad topics. We also have our Vimeo channel, which features close to 100 videos relating to Hawaii and hula. We also have our on-demand channel with access to 2 HPS educational videos, the first being a DVD that we did in 2018 called Hoʻokela, Stories from Our Kupuna, which features edited video segments from our oral history library, and the Hawaiian Room, which was a documentary about the famous establishment of the Lexington Hotel in NYC or in New York City. Lastly, we are partnered with Papakilo Database under the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, where we have lots of mini collections of select materials, including hula papers, music clips, and photographs. So definitely check us out if you're interested. And I'll pass it back to you, Keau.
Okay, so we just wanted to highlight some of the tools we've developed to aid users and researchers. And those are particularly transcripts and finding aids. Right now, our digital umeke has transcripts accessible online for oral history sessions with 25 elders, many of whom we sat down and talked with multiple times. While we have transcripts for every oral history we have ever conducted over the last 25 years, we only have a subset available right now online as we try to work through preparing the rest of them for public access. Every transcript on our digital umeke has a cover page with photographs from that oral history session, biographical info, some technical info, and some tips or explanations on how to interpret the transcript. Our finding aids, which you see here in green, are another helpful tool. Each oral history session contains multiple tapes. This is back when we were filming still on tape. We now film on digital card, but each tape has keywords that are consecutively listed as they occur within the discussion. So in this way, researchers can browse the keywords to get a sense of what is discussed without having to read the entire transcript or watch an entire oral history session in real time. And this just helps to direct them to points of interest within the lengthy conversations, pinpoint areas in the transcript, and also helps them with terms, knowing terms or finding terms that they can use to search within the transcript to locate sections of interest. If you've ever worked in cataloging, you would know that I would say that keywording and describing video is one of the most complex and complicated materials to work with. So these are the tools that we developed that we thought were best helpful for researchers to find information that they're looking for within these really lengthy and complicated, multifaceted discussions. Our transcripts on the digital umeke are dynamic docs, which are basically Google Docs that anyone can access and view, but they can't alter. We control the sharing and download permissions. In this way, we can actively upkeep them and make quick corrections so that they remain as current as possible. We're in the process of transforming our finding aids from PDFs to dynamic docs right now. And we are always adding new transcripts and finding aids to our online collections. It's actively ongoing project. Lāhela?
Yeah, so like Keau mentioned, we have our transcripts and our finding aids. The transcripts are, straight from the video, while the finding aids are very detailed keywords. So we wanted to try and work on a project or find out a way to give a mid-level description of these oral history interviews. And so we are currently in the process of developing that knowledge organization system that called our Indigenous Controlled Vocabulary. It's a new tool that we're working on, which focuses on creating that mid-level description, like I mentioned, within our coming from our finding aids. We are also working with some Hawaiian Knowledge Organization professionals who are actively doing this type of work. Shout out to Kawai Hapai, Siobhan, and Marie folks. And in addition to these being a mid-level description, we'll also be applying these controlled vocabulary to the search function on our collections website, Digital Umeke, which is hosted by Mukurtu. And the whole purpose of this project is an effort to align with these existing Hawaiian knowledge organization systems and other reparative justice initiatives so that information can reflect all of our cultural nuances. It acknowledges the historical injustices, and it really empowers our Hawaiian community. Because as we know, for so long, our history has been documented and told by, Western perspective. And we are really pushing the need within our Indigenous communities to have it come from Hawaiians, have it come from the perspective of these Indigenous people. And so we're not going to go into too much detail about ICV right now, but I'll just share some brief points about our process. We first get two primary term developers or catalogers, in this case, Keau and myself. Both of us are very intimately familiar with our oral history library. We then started by creating a foundational terms list to apply across first 6 main kupuna oral histories, the 6 biggest collections that we have within our library. We then use what is pictured here, a terms worksheet, just a simple Google sheet, just to apply the controlled vocabulary terms by these contextual blocks. And so a contextual block results from us grouping keywords together that occur within a specific related discussion section. So in the picture here, you can kind of see from keywords 2 to 13, they're colored green, and they're all representing the same discussion topic. And then we see that the context shifts, then the color goes to blue. And this was just a way that Keau and I figured out to visually identify where these different topics of conversation are happening in the oral histories. From that, we then assign ICV terms to it to describe the main points of each contextual block. And some things that we consider when we're assigning ICV terms, the type of verbiage we should use to convey certain concepts or ideas, what is, appropriate for our communities, our culture, appropriate for the times, current times, past when these kupuna are reflecting on their life experiences. We also include Olelo Hawaii terms, but we also have decided to include English translations just to be inclusive and reflecting, our current audience and researchers and other users that are going to be using our materials. We consider everyday language, so terms and vernacular that's very kama'aina to our community. We also think of the length of the terms, as we got to kind of keep in mind, we don't want too much overload for the researchers and people who are looking at these ICV terms. And then we also consider if these things will repeat across other oral histories or come up within other interviews with kupuna. And we may also create new ICV terms, but for now, that's a whole other process that we won't get too detailed or too into right now. And this work has unfortunately been affected by federal funding cuts that have happened within these past few months, as I'm sure many of us in the, especially in Hawaii and the library information community has definitely dealt with. But here, we at HPS, like Keau had mentioned in the beginning, we let our kupuna really drive our work. And so we are staying true to the kumu, the source, and we still plan on completing just a smaller segment of this project. And we're currently in the process of reconfiguring it in comparison to what the original grant deliverables were, but now focusing just on a smaller subset of the oral histories. But there still remains a very large amount of our oral history library that's left to do. And I will pass it back to you, Keau.
Yeah, so before we open up for questions and discussion and just kind of Vala'au talk story, we'd like to share one more video clip with you. And this is of Kumu Hula George No'ope when we sat down to talk to him in 2004. Here he shares his love for hula in Hawaii and reminds us that as stewards of knowledge, we have a responsibility to uplift integrity and aloha in all we do.
History the hula. The hula is Hawaii, Hula is aloha, and the hula is sharing. And I have the utmost respect for my culture and for my people. And I appreciate all these other people who are learning foreign people to do our dance. But then it's our place as teachers of the hula to be sure that they do it the right way. And many of our books are written, written by foreigners, and they see it only to the eyes of the foreigner and not to the eye of the Hawaiian. Makes a big difference, All they know is aloha, aloha, but they don't know what aloha is. They really don't. They want to sell it. And you don't sell aloha. It must be shared from the pool right in front of the house. That's why we Hawaiians are so fortunate. When our Creator created the world, He must have loved us Hawaiians. He gave us no gold, no oil, no fishes, no poison animals, no snakes. All He gave us is aloha.